Yxng Bane has been on a career trajectory that's only been going up ever since Fine Wine. But in terms of quality, it's been quite up and down for me. And in terms of this mixtape, Quarantime Files, that's pretty much what I thought of it. Yxng Bane has been a while for a good 2, 3, maybe even 4 years now, with some of his later works dating back a little bit further back than that. He's one of the new era UK R&B artists that kind of flexes between Afrobeat sounds and Afro bashment, along with some traditional R&B songs, as well as even trying out some rap flows on some drill songs recently. But I feel like this mixtape, it's an amalgamation of a whole lot of different sounds. He's not focusing on one particular sound. It's just a nice thing for the fans in the time of quarantine where artists can't be as productive as they want to be. Before we get into this review, like and subscribe if you like any of the stuff that I do on this channel. And also, there's going to be a link that's going to be popping up now on the screen that you can take a look at any of my other reviews if this isn't quite in your music taste. The thing I observed on this mixtape is that this has some of his best vocal performances on it and some of his worst vocal performances on it, all on one mixtape, which is really, really odd to me. Songs like Drip For Me, MCM, and Rubbish, these are the songs that I think are as much better vocal performances on this entire mixtape. And I feel like when Yxng Bane really sings, he can sing. The guy can really sing. He isn't R&B after all, first and foremost. Drip For Me has some good Afro bashment vibes on the instrumental, and I feel like in terms of vocal performance, this is one of his cleanest. It just feels so clean how he hits pretty much all the notes across this song. The melodies are well picked out in terms of the notes he decided to sing on, and that sort of a thing. The song structure isn't anything special, but it works for him. This general formula right here, I feel like really works, and the songs that are like this on the tape are the better ones. MCM is the song where I feel Yxng Bane really flexes his vocal range, going way up there in terms of how high he can go in his vocal range, and I really like it. I feel like this is the first time in a while where I felt like Yxng Bane really is an R&B artist, where his USP and his strongest point is his actual singing ability and vocal ability, and here he really does really damn well. His delivery is pretty clean for the most part, and going up in terms of vocal range, he doesn't feel like he's straining his voice, but he does feel like he's putting a lot of effort in order to hit those notes, but he hits them pretty cleanly all around. I feel like the auto-tune does patch up things pretty well in terms of some bits of his vocals, but I feel like on the high end of his vocal range, he gives a pretty stellar performance on this one, as well as Rubbish. I feel like Rubbish is the same thing, gives a pretty stellar vocal performance, stretching out his vocal range, even though the auto-tune does patch things up here and there. I do feel that even without the auto-tune, he could probably perform all of these tracks to a really good standard. Rubbish is the song that I feel like is conceptually the most interesting, especially with G-Fresh's verse. I was a big fan of G-Fresh back when Play Dirty was still a thing, and I feel like everyone forgot how good G-Fresh was with his mixtape like Where's My Brick, Lego Man obviously, and I feel like it's a very big return to the scene for G-Fresh. Not like he's necessarily been anywhere, but just not much on the rapping side of things, and it was really good to see him back. Yxng Bane gives a nice little rap verse on here too. I feel like this is one of the better rap verses from Yxng Bane on this thing. It's not just the melodic rapping that he comes with, it's just straight up rapping, which I think can be quite refreshing and gives some variety to the tape as a whole. On some tunes it works, and I feel like it works really well on this tune, and we'll get to the ones where I didn't think it worked so well a bit later on. Are You Mad is an interesting one for me. I do like some of Yxng Bane's rapping here, but I don't think he's doing that much special in terms of flows or any sort of lyrical prowess from him on this track. But I do feel like it works. I feel like vocally on the hook, he could have been better in places. I feel like some places on the hook, in terms of like the beginning of it, with the literal lyric, Are You Mad? I feel like on that lyric, his vocals could have been cleaner. But overall, I think it's a pretty decent song. I actually would have liked to hear a bit more from K-Trap. I actually think K-Trap's verse was a bit too short for my liking. I actually think it's the highlight of the track because K-Trap's signature flow is perfect for this in terms of the beat. It's just perfect for him, and I'd like to hear more of him. But that's just me and my personal preference. I feel like in other places on this tape, with the melodic rapping that Yxng Bane comes with, his vocal ability kind of gets dampened and it takes a real backseat, and it kind of means a lot of these songs go from pretty good to pretty average real quick. specifically on Change Your Life. I think Koja does really well here vocally and lyrically. And I think this is a good move to have the two of them on a song together. I think the beat really worked and it gets you in a vibe that you can really kind of chill to and kind of slowly bop your head. And it's very easy to catch a vibe to the song, especially with the beat. I do really think that although the hook itself from Bane is well written and the lyrics are just very appropriate for the song and the atmosphere they've set with the instrumental, I do think vocally Yxng Bane can just do better. Father and Change Your Life are two songs where I thought, okay, the rap flows are pretty good, but in terms of your actual vocal ability that's coming across on these tracks and your vocal performance, it's not great. And you've already proven with tracks previous to this that you can do better than this. So it's kind of disappointing in a way. Specifically on Change Your Life, I think Koja does really well here vocally and lyrically. And I think this is a good move to have the two of them on a song together. I think the beat really worked and it gets you in a vibe that you can really kind of chill to and kind of slowly bop your head. And it's very easy to catch a vibe to the song, especially with the beat. I do really think that although the hook itself from Bane is well written and the lyrics are just very appropriate for the song and the atmosphere they've set with the instrumental, I do think vocally Yxng Bane can just do better. And in terms of when I say Yxng Bane can be really up and down, there are some real down moments on this thing. Like, I'm talking absolute train wrecks in my opinion, to the point where I'm listening to them and I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? I really don't know what the hell is going on Porsche. Vocally, he's just all over the place. The melody he picked in terms of the notes, in terms of how it sits with the melody of the beat itself, it's just a mess. I don't know why he picked that melody. It doesn't help him. It's not a flattering vocal range or point where he's at that really helps him at all. I don't really know what the hell's going on here. I don't really know what this flow is either. It doesn't really fit. It's a bit cringy at points, and I feel like he's even out of tune in terms of the singing. It's just so topsy-turvy in terms of the quality across the mixtape, and this is one of those songs that's really on the downside in terms of vocal quality. And even Heady, even though Heady kind of returns to his old formula, which everyone likes, Heady can't really save it. And neither can the autotune from Yxng Bane's poor vocal performance on this thing. Thriller is the song with M. Huncho, and they bring Quincy Tellum in terms of production, and I feel like it's very much his bag of UK wave music for M. Huncho, but I don't think it suits Yxng Bane, especially when you're talking about the flows and the vocal range that he finds himself at in terms of the melodies, trying to sing along and match M. Huncho. I just don't think it quite works for Bane. I think the reason that this happened in terms of Yxng Bane finding himself out of his vocal range is that in terms of how you classify their voices, in terms of vocal ability and vocal range, Yxng Bane does not function as a baritone. He is a tenor, which means when he finds himself in this vocal range, it's unnatural for him. And the songs in which his vocal range is better and his vocal ability is better is when he functions as a straight up tenor rather than a baritone. It doesn't quite work as well. I know I'm throwing around loads of random musical terms that people don't care about or know, but whatever, whoever cares about it, whoever doesn't, doesn't. You see, Rockstar, weirdly enough, I was kind of excited when I saw that we've got DBE and Yxng Bane back together again, because I really like Any Minute now when the two of them got together to make that mixtape. There was some interesting sounds, and vocally, they actually sounded pretty good. But this was not that. This was not that. Good God, no. One of the things I liked about Any Minute Now is that they both had their separate flows and melodies that they came with. They didn't just try and replicate each other, but that's exactly what they did on this. We've got the same singing pattern from Young Ads that we've been hearing for the last 2 years, and to make it even worse, as boring as that is, Yxng Bane just replicates it. So it's just like, wow, now we've got both of you doing it. Now I don't have anything to really look forward to on this track. Vocally, I don't think any of their contributions are really that good or really doing that much. I just feel like everyone on this track could have done better. Dirtbike was just boring, even though he's had some pretty good performances before, especially on tracks like Ablo with Frenna. He spazzed on that song. It would be great to have something like that back. Like, I personally really don't like this beat either. The key is way too aggressive for the whole atmosphere and vibe that they're coming across with, and it doesn't make for a great melody. There's distorted vocal samples underneath. They're just really annoying and just really distracting. The kind of wailing vocals from Young Az just really pissed me off as well, especially with the vocal stabs underneath where he just has even more of that in terms of ad-libs as well. It just doesn't sound good. And then even then, Young Az, isn't really doing much different either, so you just get more of the same problems on this track, and it's just a train wreck all around. Overall, I'm going to give this a C-/D+. I generally think at some points it's very hard to enjoy it. It passes, it's passable. I feel like people will accept it, and I feel like a lot of diehard fans will more than like it, but if you're judging it by how good it actually is, it really isn't very good at a lot of different points. There are some enjoyable songs on here, and I did talk about them, but I think it's just weighed down by pretty poor vocal performances all around, and in some cases just pretty bad beats, or even just lifeless ones. I do feel like there were some good vocal performances on this thing, and I do feel like some of the beats do give a lot of variance in terms of the different styles and tempos that he's going for, but I feel like in terms of the melodies he picked for a lot of these tunes, they're not very flattering because it doesn't really help or assist his vocal range, and it doesn't necessarily show how good he can be vocally, whilst other tracks do, a lot of them just don't. So that's the end of this review. Like and subscribe if you like any more stuff like this. All my socials are down below. I'm going to be also doing some short videos on Instagram as well. Kind of quick rant sort of thing where I rant about a certain topic just for like 3 or 5 minutes. Bit more comical on those ones, and I thought people might like it. If you have any requests, get them down in the comments below, or get me on my social media. They're all going to be in the description. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next video about anything I do, whether it's just reviews or diversifying on the channel. Thanks.